This is Segue, a weekly program exploring the lives and work of the people of Southern Illinois University Edwardsville.
Hello, and welcome to another edition of Segue, the show that allows us to talk about issues and ideas here on the campus of Southern Illinois University Edwardsville. I'm Kevin Leonard, the Dean of the College of Arts and Sciences, and I'm very pleased to be here today with Nyla Woods, a senior chemistry major at SIUE. Nyla earned the first place award in chemistry at the 2023 Illinois Louis Stokes Alliance for Minority Participation Symposium and Student Research Conference in STEM. This program, named for civil rights leader Louis Stokes, works to increase recruitment, retention, and graduation rates of underrepresented students in STEM fields. Welcome to Segue, Nyla.
Hi.
Well, let's begin by having you tell us a little more about yourself. Where did you grow up, and how did you end up studying chemistry at SIUE?
Well, I grew up in Kansas City, Missouri. I actually am a Raytown South senior high alumni, and what got me interested in chemistry was really, I feel like I've always had a natural affinity to science, and I was always that kid that had to know why. And I find that question still arises today in my studies.
Okay. Was there a specific moment, a class in school or another event outside of school where you thought, oh, wow, this is really interesting. I need to know why that happened?
I would say my maybe sophomore or junior year, there was this app called Trivia Crack. Mm-hmm. And it had all of the subjects like art, history, and I always got super excited when I got a science one. And I found that, hey, I actually have some prior knowledge with some science.
Okay.
Yeah.
And why did you choose chemistry instead of another science?
Chemistry. I would say I feel as though chemistry is almost the closest thing to the truth. You know, it's the study of atoms, and everything's composed of atoms. And if we can understand them, we can understand the world.
Oh, wow. Okay. So were there important individuals, or are there important individuals who have encouraged and supported you as you've pursued your studies?
Absolutely. My grandparents especially have been the most supportive. I mean, financially, but definitely just advice. It's hard navigating, school and transitioning into adulthood, by yourself. And I'm very thankful to have amazing grandparents and, of course, my amazing mother. And definitely I would like to say the faculty and staff members in the chemistry department, I would say, definitely support me.
Yeah. I've had the opportunity to get to know several of the faculty members and some of the staff members in chemistry as well. And I do have to say they're incredibly supportive in terms of working with students, great mentors. I know a lot of students just gain so much from working in the lab with their faculty members.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So how did you get from the Kansas City area to the St. Louis area?
You see, this might be a bit confusing, but I was actually born in Big Barnes, and my family moved to Kansas City, and I was 4.5 when that happened. And then when I graduated, my grandparents said, hey, why don't you come and stay with us and go to STLCC out here? And I really wanted to get away from what I knew. Mm-hmm. Part of me, of course, was, oh, my friends are all here. I want to stay, but I definitely don't regret moving and staying with my grandparents and going to Merrimack.
Okay. Mm-hmm. Well, tell us a little bit more about the experience of being at STLCC. What was that like?
Oh, it was amazing. I actually feel like I knew that chemistry was my subject there at STLCC. I had an amazing mentor. Her name was Mary Thaley. I worked in the microbiology lab with her. I was a lab technician assistant, and she helped me navigate academic advisors and, looking at different colleges. And she actually pointed me to the SIUE chemistry program.
Well, I was going to ask you how you chose SIUE over some of the other schools to which you might have transferred.
You see, I actually looked at SIUE 3 times. I toured it 3 times. One time was with my older brother, and it was just, we were going around touring schools. The second time, I was interested in the pharmacy program.
Okay.
And the pharmacy program is amazing here. So, and then the third time, my grandfather actually got in contact with Dr. Leah O'Brien. She was the chair at the time,
right. And
she gave him and I a tour around the chemistry department. And honestly, I fell in love with Dr. O'Brien. I loved, seeing a strong woman in such a high position, and just seeing her excitement and how much she loved the chemistry department really, really made it so I wanted to be here. That was when I knew, I need to be here.
That's really great to hear. Yes, Dr. O'Brien was the chair of the chemistry department when I became the dean, and she served 6 years as the chair, which is a long time for anyone to serve in that capacity. Did a wonderful job, but what I know about Dr. O'Brien is that she is absolutely dedicated to her students, and it doesn't surprise me to hear you speak so highly of her. So, what stands out about your time since you arrived here at SIUE?
What stands out the most to me, 2 things. One, being a transfer student and, transferring from a junior college and coming to a university. Other students, they've known each other since freshman year. You kind of feel alone, but I only had a small, that moment of feeling alone was very short for me, I feel like. It seemed like it was easy for me to kind of get into the groove of the chemistry department and how things worked and getting to know each other. I would definitely say all of the faculty and staff members in the chemistry department have all helped me out a ton. And the amount of international students we have, I think that's beautiful. And they just bring so many different, cultures, so many different ideas. And just to see us all bond over science, I just think that's beautiful.
Yeah. No, I'm glad you mentioned that. Actually, of course, there are international faculty members in the Department of Chemistry. So there are people who have come from other countries and have made SIUE their home and contributed tremendously. But you're right. We're in the midst of a real increase in the number of international students, many of whom are attracted to SIUE because of the strength of our scientific fields. And so I'm glad to hear you say that's something that's distinctive. And it's really good to hear that you had a nice transition from community college into SIUE, and you didn't feel lost or isolated for any length of time. I know what that feels like. I actually decided to transfer when I was in college, and that transition, the first semester at a new school, was a really difficult one for me because I was already, I knew what my major was going to be, and yet the people in that major, the students in that major, weren't necessarily that welcoming. And it sounds as if you had a really good experience with other students in chemistry, really opening up to you. And I think part of that is as you suggest, it's the tone set by faculty and staff in the department, that they make it a welcoming place.
Absolutely. Yeah. And I think me being a transfer student and having that experience, I'm able to kind of pay it forward. And when a new international student or someone who's determining their major, comes in, I'm able to be the person hey, welcome to the family.
Yeah, no, that's great. So I mentioned in the introduction that you earned the first place award in chemistry at the 2023 Illinois Louis Stokes Alliance for minority participation. Symposium and Student Research Conference in STEM. First of all, let me congratulate you on that. And let me ask you to tell us a little bit more about that. So, what did your research project involve?
Well, thank you. My research project involved the electronic transition of molybdenum nitride. We were able to analyze all 7 isotopologues, including the ones with nuclear spin. It was a lot. I've actually been doing this research for over a year now.
Oh, wow.
And when I first started off, everything went over my head. Everything. I didn't understand anything, but getting out and being able to go to these conferences and symposiums really gives you an understanding of this is what I'm doing and this is why it's important. Mm-hmm. And just being able to put the pieces from, when I first started, I didn't know anything. And then to now, it's just crazy, the difference, and just putting that work that you had in the beginning and what you had now and putting it all together and figuring out that I was actually doing quantum mechanics. So I was a little hard on myself in the beginning, but yeah.
So you were doing that in Dr. O'Brien's lab?
Yes, Dr.
Okay.
O'Brien.
I recognize because I know that she works with those isotopes. So what is the what conclusions did you draw from your research?
Well, we were able to get the proper splitting between the ground state configurations. We were able to see that, the hyperfine structures. In the beginning, we were seeing lines in our spectrum that just weren't really adding up to... I'm sorry. Give me one moment. All right. So we started off with a Huns case C, and we were able to get a Huns case A that has all of the spin orbit components in this one potential energy diagram. It was really exciting for us because this is the first time that Dr. O'Brien has done a quartet pi rather than a doublet pi state, and really just seeing how electrons act, going from one energy level to the next. It's really just all about analyzing electrons.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now, and if I remember correctly, I've actually heard Dr. O'Brien talk about her research. So you're actually using lasers, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So how do you use the lasers to measure the atoms that you're looking at?
Okay. So actually, that I more just analyze the spectrum, but
okay.
I can give you a little bit about what I do know about the laser part. So we did it using intracavity laser spectroscopy with help with our friends from UMSL, their laser we were able to use.
Okay.
But basically, we had a molybdenum lined cathode, and you shoot a laser at it, and we were able to basically measure the absorption of the isotopes because they give off different wavelengths.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
So, and Beer's law states that absorption is proportional to concentration. So with that, we're able to analyze all 7 isotopologues. We did come to a few exciting moments, that other people might not be able to recognize, but we were able to use constraint commands to basically, rather than fitting all of the isotopologues separately, we used the reduced mass ratios so that we could basically, everything would be proportional to the most abundant isotope, which is 98 molybdenum nitride.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Well, drawing back a little bit from the details, because I am fascinated by the details of how you really measure atoms and look at electrons. I think that's really fascinating. But to draw back from that a little bit, how did it feel to have your research recognized with this first place award?
It felt amazing, honestly. It was amazing. Like I said in the beginning, I I had no idea what I was doing. It just looked like I was measuring lines for hours and, my eyes were going crossed, after a little bit. And it really brought into perspective how important my research is. Hearing other people tell me how excited they were about my research, it really gave me momentum to continue. Even though Dr. O'Brien is a physical chemist, I have not taken physical chemistry yet.
Okay.
So it's like I'm doing research about my research. So it was really exciting to see all those hours that Dr. O'Brien and I put into analyzing the spectrum, just to see that other people were excited about it, and it was nice. It was nice.
Yeah. Well, that's really, really great. So how do you think that winning the award will support your education and career?
Well, since winning the award, we do have a few more conferences coming up this year.
Okay.
We're going to the International Symposium of Molecular Spectroscopy at the U of I in June.
Okay.
And then we're going to the National Meeting of the American Chemical Society in San Francisco, and that's going to be a week before school begins in August. And really just having a job as a research assistant really helps me get experience in what I'm interested in, rather than, having a job at Walmart,
Sure.
That's not helping me understand what I'm learning in class. But here I'm able to, of course, cost of living, that helps out a lot. And I'm doing something that I love, that I actually enjoy. So it doesn't seem like work.
Well, that's really great. Actually, and it's wonderful for me to hear you say that, because there are those opportunities for students at SIUE to actually do work that's critical and necessary work, but it's also very closely related to their learning. So it sounds to me as if you might have an advantage over other students when you do take physical chemistry, because you've already been doing this work in the lab. Do you think that's the case?
Oh, I would have to agree. Yeah.
Okay.
In my physics class right now, we're talking about electromagnetic waves, and I'm all in.
Okay. Is that the waves class with Dr. Glassman?
It is 131.
Okay.
With Mary Kramer.
Yep. All right. Great. So what are your plans after graduation?
My plans after graduation are, I want to look at law schools. I'm really interested in intellectual property, protecting people's ideas, and a lot of people don't know. They're like, oh, why are you a biochemistry major if you want to go to law school? Well, you have to major in STEM to do IP. And so that's my plan. But my second plan, you always have to have a backup. I'll go for my PhD.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, either way sounds like a really, really exciting opportunity there. So is your thought that you'll stay somewhere in the area to go to law school, or do you think you might go someplace outside of this part of the Midwest?
Oh, I've only ever been in the Midwest. I think I got to get out, got to see other parts of, the beautiful U.S. So, UC Berkeley has the best intellectual property program in the United States, so I'm hoping to maybe get accepted there.
Oh, okay. Well, that's great to hear. I would endorse your plan to leave the Midwest, not because it's a bad place to be, but because it's always good to broaden your perspective and have some more experiences. And I grew up in the Mountain West, but spent quite a few of my years on the West Coast, and I'm not unbiased. I'm a very proud graduate of the University of California. So I always encourage people to consider going to UC schools. So Well, I always like to end my interviews by asking my guests to offer some advice. So what advice would you give to a prospective student who might be interested in studying chemistry at SIUE?
Get into a research lab.
Okay.
Get into a research lab. Find a mentor. Find a faculty member that you're comfortable with, and, lean on them. And, you might even find that they lean on you a little bit, for constructive criticism or feedback. I found that having Dr. O'Brien and Dr. Jones, they've been amazing. They've definitely pushed my love for chemistry, and they've offered me so many opportunities that I wouldn't have if not for them. So I would definitely say finding a faculty member, joining a research lab, those kind of go hand in hand.
Yep.
And then get into chem club, get into chem club, get into some sort of organization so that you do have a support system around you and people that have the same interests as you, because not everyone lives on campus. So not everyone has, a roommate who's in the same major as them or in the same program, but having people that are, going through the classes that you're going through and can give you advice like, oh, don't take that class the same time you're taking that class, I think that's crucial.
Okay. So, so I'm taking it that you are active in Chem Club?
Chem Club is actually, we're just now getting the ball rolling in Chem Club. And it has been a slow start, but we have a whole bunch of people interested, and there are going to be a lot of exciting things coming up at the end of this semester and definitely in the fall. Definitely.
Okay. So what kinds of things does Chem Club sponsor? What kinds of activities?
You see, with COVID, all of the old Chem Club people kind of have already graduated. Okay. So everyone in Chem Club is new. And so we're kind of all trying to figure it out. But that's exactly why we're recruiting people. So we can get other people's opinions like, hey, what do you want to see Chem Club do? And we definitely want to get out into the community and go to schools and get other people interested in chemistry and science.
Yeah. Okay. Well, that sounds like a great opportunity to be, sort of rebuilding Chem Club after the, as not that we're out of the pandemic, but we're at a place where we can do more things face to face and not be quite as concerned as we had to be earlier in the pandemic before the vaccines. And that sounds like really, really good advice. So thank you so much, Nyla Woods, for talking with us about your personal experiences, and congratulations again on winning the first place award in chemistry at the 2023 Illinois Louis Stokes Alliance for Minority Participation Symposium and Student Research Conference in STEM. I look forward to hearing more about you in the future, and I'm sure I will. And for our listeners, thank you for joining us. Stay safe and take care.
This has been Segue, a production of the Department of Mass Communications at Southern Illinois University Edwardsville. All rights reserved.